Hello, everyone. And hello, Kurt.
Hello.
How's it going?
Well, I think Restream broke my Braille note, but other than that, it's going great.
I'm glad.
I mean, it didn't totally break it; it just can't handle. I was all excited to connect my Braille note to the stream. I had my USB mic connected to it and everything, and it just couldn't handle the website. So,
I see. You're all
I'll
loud. I've
have
had to
to.
turn you quite down.
Oh,
Not sure why you're so loud.
that's interesting.
That's all right, though.
Okay,
Anyway, you should be okay now. I turned you down, so.
okay.
But you were like so loud you were distorting.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very odd.
Let's see.
All
Oh,
right. Well, hello,
all right.
everyone. And glad that we're all here. And this is going live on December, no, not December. It's not December yet. October 7th at 1 a.m. UTC time, 6 p.m. Pacific time, which is our normal time. Actually, UTC would be the next day, so it's not even the 7th, it's the 8th. Anyway, there we go. Hello, Kurt. How's it going?
I'm doing great.
How's
I
life?
Well, life's going pretty well. I was a bit late because I got held up at the pharmacy getting my ADHD medicine, which I think I will need to cover the Braille note.
Wait, you have ADHD?
Are you surprised?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm sort of kidding. Uh,
Need all the help I can get to cover the Braille note, though. Let me tell you.
Absolutely. Well, let's see, what are we going to talk about today? We have a number of things that we'll talk about. We've got a Braille note to pull out of the toilet tank, and Kurt will hopefully provide us some kind of a demo, although it seems like it might be broken. So, um,
Oh, it's working now. It's just not connecting to the stream, so it's kind of working.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And before that, though, we have a bunch of news that we're going to talk about. And so that'll be kind of fun to talk about some news. If we don't get through it all, there will be a bunch of links in the YouTube description. So feel free to check out the YouTube description. And let's see, what else? What else do I need to tell everybody? I want to thank all of you guys who are subscribing and who are engaging. There are some comments each week on the videos. Not very many, but there are some. So I like to see that. And we will engage back. So if you have any questions on the comments, definitely, or comments, put those in the chat or in the comments, or send us an email, or tweet, or whatever it is. I think my Twitter's usually in the YouTube description, so feel free to shoot a tweet along. And feel free to send this out to your buddies, subscribe, like, all that kind of things. Here, share it out on Snack Chat. And I can't really speak very much today, so I'm going to try not to speak so much. But
Wow, what
let's.
happened to you?
I don't know. I can't put two words together. So something might be maybe a couple of drinks, or
Just a couple?
who knows. All right. Well, before we get to the articles, and I think there's a bunch of articles here, but one of the things I want to talk about, well, the main thing I want to talk about is how we all got removed or booted or kicked off the internet on Monday. I think it was Monday, right?
Yeah, Monday.
Yeah, it was Monday. Since most people's lives are Facebook and Instagram, that means pretty much we got kicked off the web on Monday. And yeah, some people were like filing claims against T-Mobile, said T-Mobile was down, they said Verizon was down, so it's kind of interesting. It's fun to watch, really, on how much people's lives are intertwined with Facebook and
Watch the world
Instagram.
fall apart.
Exactly. And then, of course, around that same time, we got another, bunch of news about how some researcher at Facebook, and I think this is like stating the obvious, but some researcher at Facebook, basically they left Facebook and they were probably upset or something, or I'm not sure actually, did they leave? I don't remember if they left. She left or
If
not.
they
But
didn't, they're probably gone now.
yeah, but she decided she was going to be a whistleblower and leak a bunch of documents that, oh no, she left because she stole the documents. Of course, whistleblowing is protected under the law, so it's not like she really did anything illegal or anything. But anyway, she comes out with this research that says that Facebook is basically counting on the fact that people like to get angry. And the angrier people are, the more time they spend on Facebook. And of course, Facebook wants you to spend time on Facebook because that way they get more revenue from ads and whatever else. So they try to show you articles or news stories or whatever potentially that will make you angry and get you pumped up. Well, I'm just wondering, like, did this truly need to happen? Like, is there a bunch of research that really needed to happen about this? Like, I could have told you this. I don't have a psych degree. Or people who are mad about something or passionate, any kind of passion about something, they tend to spend a lot of time doing whatever it is that brings them that passion. Like, is that really something we need to do research about? And then apparently there's some whole thing about how Instagram is bad for kids. Again, like, is this really news? Like, do we need research to tell us this?
No. What I do think is interesting about it, though, is that, surprise, Facebook tried to keep the research under wraps, So, of course, it's stating the obvious, but I think it's a little more telling that Facebook, like, their own research from people that they paid to do studies came out with this information, and then they, tried to keep it under wraps.
Yeah, I mean, they did, and I guess like some of the research, I guess somebody from Facebook was standing in front of Congress, and they were saying something like the research about teens was a very small, tiny little, like 30 people study or something, and they were asking teens how they felt after using Instagram, and a bunch of teens actually said that they felt better, like the same or better about whatever situation was bothering them. Who knows? Who knows what you want to believe, what's real and what's not. I'm sure it'll all come out eventually. But if you don't know whether Instagram is bad for your children, let me give you a news flash. It's bad for your children. So, minimize their time on it and monitor what they do. And if you don't know that Facebook intentionally feeds you articles to piss you off, here's a news flash. They probably do. And if you're getting that pissed off, you probably shouldn't spend that much time on social media. Just saying. But what do I know?
Yeah, the timing is a little funny, though.
Yeah.
The timing of, and I don't really think it's a conspiracy, like, I think it's just a coincidence, probably, but the fact that Facebook went down a day after this came out.
Yeah, and I guess we have an article here that blames it on, some internal thing that happened. So, who knows?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll run through a few of these articles very quickly. You can feel free to check it out if you want additional information. If I spend all the time on these articles, we'll never get through, and we'll be here all night. So let's see here. We have a budget-friendly Motorola G Pure with a 2-day battery life. I always laugh when I see a device that has 2-day battery life because I haven't really. I guess it depends on how you use your device, but I haven't found any of the devices that I've seen go 2 days on battery. I don't know. But if you're interested, there's a link in the description. Another thing I would consider with Motorola is their updatability. They don't update their phones, so
Right.
I would honestly. It is a budget phone. It's cheap, but I wouldn't touch it. So.
Hey, what do Motorola and Humanware have in common, Nimmer?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we take the thing out of the toilet tank. But it's still in there for now, so. Okay, AirPods Pro get a new conversation boost feature with the most recent firmware update. This is kind of an interesting thing, so help boost your conversations. Very cool. Let's see. Uber has a new flight track feature. Cool. I'm not sure why Uber's getting into this thing, but hey, why not? The more Uber app does for us, the more we'll spend in the Uber app, and the more Ubers we'll take, maybe. I have no idea.
Yep.
There's a opinion post article that posted to the Facebook crisis about how somebody fell in love with Apple's iMessage and Apple Sphere. So I guess once they lost contact with Facebook, then they turned to the Apple Sphere. So
Yeah.
this one's an interesting article here with the Boost. Boost is a mobile virtual.
Hello. Hello. Did Nimmer's internet break?
It did. It just cut out for a second. I should be
Is
back
Facebook
though.
going after you now?
That's right. All right, am I back now?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. All right, good.
And the birds.
Good. So, let's see, what was I talking about? Oh, that Boost. So Boost is a mobile virtual network operator, and what that means is they piggyback off of other providers, and so they tend to piggyback off of T-Mobile right now, and possibly AT&T. Anyway, their founder is creating a new MVNO, although he's not saying that it's an MVNO. He's actually saying it's not an MVNO, but it is an MVNO because it's piggybacking off of Verizon.
Right.
And this thing is supposed to be revolutionary because it's going to allow you to only pay for the data that you use and the things that you only things that you need. This guy really doesn't like unlimited data plans. He thinks that most people overpay for their data. I've seen a number of articles on this and watched a few videos, and I'm really struggling to see how this is going to be differentiated from what currently exists, because there are MVNOs today that also will let you pay per gig or whatever data that you use or whatever, so I'm not sure how this is going to be differentiated.
Yeah.
But anyway, the article here states that they have now announced a new partnership with Verizon, so this thing's going to roll out as X-Mobile.
Aren't there literally MVNOs already that do this exact same thing where you pay by the gigabyte, or isn't Ting a thing?
I don't know if Ting's still a thing, but there's a lot of them that are a thing, and yes, there are. Well, even Google Fi or Xfinity Mobile, they also let you pay by the gig instead of paying for an unlimited plan. There's a lot of these. There's a ton of them. So I'm not sure how this is going to be different. I really don't understand, but who knows.
Yeah.
Let's see. Facebook blames outage on an error of our own making. Yep, I posted that in their article. Okay, Google's going to enable two-step verification by default for over 150 million accounts or something like that. So if you're not using two-step verification, you should. And what that means is that when you log in, it's asking you for a second thing that you have access to. What I would recommend is that you not use two-step verification with SMS. Because if something like a SIM swap happens where someone tricks your carrier into giving them access to your line by activating a new SIM, then you lose access to your number. And if they also have your passwords from a data breach, which they probably do, congratulations, they have access to your your accounts. And even if they don't, they could probably do a password reset and have it sent to SMS. So have a link sent to SMS. So there we go.
Yep.
But I would recommend using that. Ubico, and I don't even know if I included an article in here, they're one of the companies who releases security keys. So these are like little USB, they almost look like flash drives, and they help you authenticate into your account. They just released ones that have a fingerprint functionality. So instead of using a PIN or something like that to lock down that YubiKey, you can use a fingerprint, which is...
I don't think that's new. My work has been using Ubicos for a while that has a fingerprint reader on it.
No, the fingerprint Ubicos are definitely new. So your work may be using a different brand, or maybe they do have a little button on them, but that button is not a fingerprint sensor. So
Okay.
it just helps put in a like a code or whatever. So anyway, there's that. But I would definitely enable two-step if it's not enabled. But Google's going to force you to enable it. So at least for their accounts. Let's see. Google One, yes. What's that?
Oh, I was just saying it's about time.
Yes. So Google One, we talked about this about a month ago, and they were going to release a update to their plan. And if you're on a T-Mobile plan, then all of a sudden you can get 500 gigs of storage from Google One, and it's $5 a month for that plan. So
That's cool, yeah.
it's kind of an in-between plan. So it's in between the 199, whatever it is that plan is. I think 100 gigs or 200 gigs, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah, I've
2
got
terabyte
100.
plan, which is $10. So it's kind of like an in-the-middle plan. I still like the $10 plan. For $5 extra, you get a full 4 times the storage. But if you don't need that much, it still seems like a good plan, and it's probably better than going out and buying external hard drives every couple of years. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you use a full 2 terabytes, Nimmer?
I've got close to full 2 terabytes, so I might have to upgrade soon.
Wow. See, I've got about 50 gigs of my 200 gigs, so...
Well, if you download a lot, put like I've got, I don't know, a sizable movie collection. I've downloaded a bunch from the movie vault. I got some music, tons of music. So, yeah, depends on what you have, I guess, but you can definitely get up to that much.
Yeah.
I probably have archived every Windows program I've ever installed, and some of the Linux apps.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah. Do I need all that? No, it's probably like hoarding. Do I use all of it? No. But, hey, I have it.
Yeah.
AMD processors, this is no good for me. They're slower on Windows 11. So there's apparently a fix coming, but if you're having an AMD processor. By the way, this is why this stream started late, because I had an update to Windows 11 last week, and it brought me into some kind of a BIOS recovery mode, or I don't know what it was
lovely.
doing. And it was asking me to type in my, the BitLocker key, because my BitLocker was, my hard drive's encrypted.
Oh, yeah.
And anyway, by the time I figured that out, I'd gone into the BIOS and did some things. One of those things, apparently, what I did was turn off Wi-Fi in the BIOS. And another thing that I did was I turned off Secure Boot. So, I've got a Windows machine sitting here, and I need to figure out, I'll probably need to call up like Be My Eyes or something. But I need to figure out how to get it out of that state, because right now it is only usable when wired to Ethernet, which is fine when I'm at home.
Yeah.
But still, I would like to get it back on Wi-Fi, and and Secure Boot's disabled. Although Windows 11 still runs without it, so who knows?
Yeah, well, good luck trying to put Linux on there.
Oh no, actually Linux will run fine with Secure Boot disabled. In fact, for a while, that's what it wanted. So,
Huh, okay. I just remember I was having problems on my Lenovo because I couldn't get it to boot right. But
yeah, it depends. Depends on the distro, but yeah. Now playing on Pixels. We'll stop here after a couple of these articles. But now playing on Pixels is a feature that's been around for a while, and what it does is it will tell you what song is playing when a song is playing, and it'll do that on the phone, on device itself. It has a library, and it'll tell you when it detects a song is playing. You can set this up when you set up your phone. It's a really cool feature, and something that I actually like a lot, because I don't remember the names of songs, but I can always go back through the history, and I'm like, oh, I heard this song earlier, and I want to find it again. Oh, this is what the song was. Well, it doesn't recognize a lot of things, depending on what region you're in, and stuff like that. So now they're adding a cloud search component, and what that will do is, go out into the cloud and try to find what that song is. So this is an article that talks about that. I don't believe it's out yet, but this article talks about this feature from wherever I got this from. I think XDA developers or something.
Yeah, it's XDA.
Google Assistant's rolling out quick phrases. I think this was announced a while back, but it's actually rolling out to some people. So for some things, instead of saying the hey part in front of it, you can just say the phrase. So this is, might be useful, for example, to dismiss an alarm. When your alarm goes off, you can simply say stop instead of saying, "Hey, Google, stop."
I'm a little worried that might activate when I don't want it to sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's dependent on the task. So it'll only be in certain, like I said, dismissing alarms or something. But I'm not sure. We'll see. YouTube Music, they have a free version, and when you use that free version, they are gaining background play, so you'll be able to play while you're not focused on the YouTube Music app. I'm a little bit surprised this wasn't already a thing, but yeah, so you no longer have to be in YouTube Music to listen to music.
It's taken how many years?
Yeah, and to be clear, this has been not the case for the paid plan, which I do subscribe to because it also offers YouTube without ads and a few other perks.
Yeah, it's nice.
Let's see. Microsoft's new Surface devices were released. There's a whole article on that. You can go through that. There's a review on Windows 11. So yeah, check out those articles and let us know what your thoughts are on that. Let's see if we have any chat. Probably not. No, we have no chat. No one wants to talk to us.
No.
I think it's you, Kurt. Ever since you came on, we don't have anybody chatting with us. Because before that, I'd get a few people for each stream.
Oh no!
Or maybe it's our time
off?
at the bar, or who knows.
Yeah, it could have been.
All right. Well, let's switch over to the Braille note. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and take it out. Oops.
I can hear
I yanked
myself.
the headphone cord out. Let's plug the headphone cord back in. This Chromebook that I have, for whatever reason, has a very, very loose headphone jack. And the headphones very easily pop out.
Oh.
Am I back now?
Yep, you're back.
Okay, all right. So now I'm going to walk over to the toilet tank, and I'm going to pull the Braille note out of the toilet tank, and then I'll mail it over to Kurt.
Very nice.
And he will demonstrate it, and it'll be very instantaneous mailing. Don't worry, but I have to do this because I have a Braille note in my toilet tank. Okay, here we go. Here we go, everybody. All right, let's look inside. Ew, there's a bunch of water in there. All right, put the lid back on. There we go.
Hopefully it's got an IP rating.
Oh, probably not. That might be one of the things we need to test, Kurt. What do you think?
Apparently you just did.
Okay, so there. I pulled the Braille note out of the toilet, and I will give it up to you to tell us all there is to know.
All right. Now that the Braille note just came here really fast through the, Star Trek transporter mail, let me see if I can join the stream with it.
Nope.
Well, let's check.
Uh-oh. Someone joined the stream. Let's see. All right. Hello, Braille Note.
Hello.
Whoa, hello.
Can you
Are
hear
you?
it?
I can
Whoa.
hear it.
All right, let me mute Chromebook. All right. Wow, this does not sound good. All
No,
right.
it actually sounds quite
So,
bad.
so I am here with the Braille Note Touch Plus.
It sounds about like a
Uh,
$40 tablet mic.
well, I wonder why. I
You
tried to plug in the USB
try.
mic and that broke it.
Oh, try going into the settings and see if you can turn off some of the noise cancellation stuff and see if that
All
helps it.
right.
If you can access settings on a Braille Note, I don't know. Can you do that?
Should be able to.
Let's see. In the meantime, I'll see this comment from Brian. I tend to hoard files as well. Hello, Brian.
Hi, Brian. Oh, definitely showing its age.
It's not that old. Come on. I guess in Braille
Okay,
Note years, it's old.
I see a share screen button. Here's a settings button. Cool.
Oh, good. We got there.
It is. I'm definitely doing well. What I think the humanware people would say is not what it was designed for. But there's no reason it shouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah, it's an Android toy. Why not?
Yeah. All right. If I can change any of the noise cancellation here. Uh,
Okay, Kurt, you seem to be muted or dead or something. So the Braille Note apparently doesn't like those settings. Uh, Here, let's unmute your Chromebook so we can at least hear you. Oops, that was the music.
Hey, Chromebook is unmuted.
There we go. Hello, welcome back.
Hi. All right. Yeah, it's definitely not. So we're right away we're running into one of the bad things about this Braille Note Touch, and definitely not something that. See, it's saying it's not muted on my end, but this is definitely a problem with the machine. There are plenty of bad things. We just saw one of them, and that is it struggles with intensive web browsing.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Now I hear your Braille Note and it's extremely delayed. Wow. This is going well.
Well, I mean, it's a good object lesson.
well, I mean, this is a lesson.
And I hear it like 3 seconds behind. Like 2,
Yep.
3 seconds.
Yep.
Wow.
All right.
All right.
Let me
get the stream here.
That might be a good idea.
So right away, we're running into one of the main limitations of this device, which is it cannot do more than very basic web browsing. And for something that costs 600, wow, sorry, add an extra zero. For something that
It would be
costs
great if it was 600.
Yeah, for real. For something that costs $6,000, that is a problem. The fact that it can't handle this stream very consistently, that is not good. But I was halfway expecting that, honestly.
I wonder if is there another browser on that Braille Note Touch that you could try it on? I wonder if there's like a...
I mean, there's Brave and there's Firefox, but it's really hard to use them on there.
Oh, okay, okay. I was going to say, are you using like, do they have their own browser or are you using Chrome?
So it is Chrome, and Chrome is the only one that you can use, the keystrokes to navigate around the web by heading and to find things. And
oh,
I mean, I wonder if the fact that it's charging right now has something to do with it. It shouldn't. Either way, that's not good.
Wait, you mean like the processor is being overtaxed because it's having to charge?
I don't know, or it's got a crappy Wi-Fi card,
or it's getting overheated, or who knows. Okay, well, there we go.
So this is not something you should use as a primary device. It is not something that can replace a laptop. It's not even really something that can replace a mid-range Android phone. But surprisingly, I still keep mine around. Well, it might be surprisingly after all the bad things I've said. And I guess what I'll do here is...
You can turn on the speech, right?
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Speech on. Turn the volume up.
Does it have a speaker?
It does indeed have a speaker.
I can barely hear the thing. All right.
How can you hear it now?
It's okay. It's still very quiet. Doesn't seem to have a very good speaker in it.
I mean, it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
It definitely does not.
Okay. Does it have a slow speech rate? I'm sure we're going to get somebody that comes in and says, you need to slow down the speech rate.
It does indeed. And because I'm using Eloquence...
Oh, Eloquence. Everybody can understand Eloquence. Yeah, Eloquence is good.
Yeah. Well, the only problem with Eloquence is I have to slow it down the long way.
Oh, does what voice does it come with naturally? Is it Vocalizer?
Yeah, it comes with Vocalizer naturally.
Okay.
Switch over to that here. Let's go back to...
Oh, acapella. Okay.
Yeah. And...
That actually sounds a lot louder, too.
It is. Yeah, okay. Now let's change the rate here. There is a hotkey to change the rate, which I do not remember because I haven't done it in a long time. Let's see.
So on a normal Android phone, at least, the speech rate is... Yeah, there, it's in that... there you go. Oh, disabled,
That use system language?
No.
Ah, why is it disabled?
Does acapella have its own... So typically, acapella has a setting to force speech rate. Is that something that this version has?
Maybe. I mean, there's supposed to be a hotkey somewhere, but I don't remember it. Let's see if I change it to Google.
Oh. Oh, now we can slow it down. Okay.
Yeah. Here we go.
Speech rate, seat control, 22%. Speech rate, seat control, 47%. Speech rate, seat control, 42%. Speech rate, seat control, 37%.
All right.
Pitch. Speech rate, seat control, 37%.
That should be about good. So believe it or not,
Main menu.
Brian used to use a Braille note when they had Windows CE, and he remembers that they had a dial-up modem port. Yes.
ha, it did indeed. It did indeed. I remember the Braille Note Apex. I think that one might have ditched the dial-up by that point. That was my first Braille Note.
I remember the Braille Note Classic. I think that's what it was called.
See, in some ways, those were better at what they were trying to do, I think. But
I agree,
So
100%.
this Braille Note, I would not recommend anybody buy a Braille Note these days. I think if you have $6,000 to spend, or if you have a rehab agency that is willing to spend money, you're probably better off getting a Braille display and maybe a really nice laptop. That said,
And then you'd still save like $3,000.
you would.
Anyway,
you
keep
would.
going.
That said, I think there are a fair number of people who are in the position that I am in, where I got one of these a couple years ago, back when it was, newer and didn't, the hardware wasn't quite as, I don't know, it seemed to keep up with things a little better at the time.
So to be clear, this is the Touch Classic. Are you going to upgrade it to Touch
No,
3.0?
this is the Touch Plus. It's got the Snapdragon 820, which was the processor
okay.
that was in the Galaxy S7.
I thought they had like a
Spec-wise,
newer version.
Not yet.
What's
no,
their
there's-
newer? Oh, they
there
don't have a
is-
new one?
No, there's Hims made a new one that's called like the BS6 or something.
Oh yeah, BS. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Which, if you're dead set on a note taker right now and you have to have that, that is probably a better buy because it'll take a couple years to get to the point where this Braille Note is now. So what I'm going to do is get all the bad things out of the way, and then I'll try and show why I haven't sold this thing yet, and why it still, in spite of all these problems I've been showing, does have a kind of niche that it still helps me get some work done.
By the way, Flossie
So-
Carter, we're not stealing your format, so don't worry. This is. But yes, let's start with the
Yeah.
things we don't like first.
We're not sponsored by White Shoes either.
That's right.
Okay, so things we don't like. Biggest is lack of security updates. Now, this is by far the most critical problem, I think, with the Braille Note Touch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my settings. So I'm going to go into my options menu.
Options menu.
Oh wow, it has an
Configure
options
settings.
menu. Cool.
Select language profile, primary language, keyboard settings. Configure additional miscellaneous settings. User guide. Android system
So
settings.
it still
Then I'm
sort of
gonna-
has the feel of an old Braille Note. It's kind of
It
interesting.
does. So there are two ways. I could have gone through the menus the Android way, but I actually think this was a little bit faster. So Android
Yeah.
system settings.
Add another email account. Set up your personal or work email.
Now I will go to About,
Apps and notifications. Permissions. Default apps. Accessibility. Screen readers. Display. Interaction controls.
and I'm just pressing A
System.
here.
Languages. Time. Back bottom.
Oh,
Search
except I
settings.
think it's under System. So I'm going to go press S to get to System.
Search settings. Sound. Volume. Vibration. Do not disturb. Set night light schedule. Tip screen amber to help you fall asleep. Search settings.
So I'm hearing you tap on the screen, and from the time that you
Yes.
tap, there's like a 3 second, or not 3 seconds, but like a second and a
There is
half
a bit of a
lag.
lag,
Time,
yeah.
Backup bottom. Google. System. Languages. Time. Backup.
There is a
updates.
bit of a lag with
System.
the
Languages and input. Keys off email.
touch Braille. No,
And that's
I
what you're
actually-
using now, or are you using Touch Braille or the
I am
the cover?
using Touch Braille. I am using Touch
Yes,
Braille.
Okay.
Data time. GMT. Backup. On. Developer options. System update. Updated to Android 8.1.0.
So I am in the menu for the Android system.
Reset options. Network. Apps. About tablet. Braille Note Touch Plus.
So then I'm going to go into this thing that says About Tablet.
About tablet. Status. Status of the battery. Network. And other information.
Don't really care about that right now.
Legal information. Model. Braille Note Touch Plus. Android version 8.1.0.
See, that's another thing that could be better. It's on Android 8, but I actually don't care about that as much as some people do.
Android security patch level. August 5th, 2019.
Yeah, except that we
That's
are
the
rolling out
problem.
to Android 12 now, but so it is a
We are.
like 4 years behind, but
It is. It is.
security
But the
updates,
thing-
I guess, are not that far behind, but still.
No, but the security updates I think are a bigger deal because let me
Android
just
version
let
8.1.0.
let me just show everyone this again. And this is, I think, the biggest reason why I would say don't buy this thing.
Android security patch level, August 5th, 2019.
August 5th, 2019. So that's a little more than 2 years out of date. And what that means is most employers that take their network security seriously will not let you connect this to their network. Most colleges that take their security seriously will not let you connect to this network. Heck, even some K through 12 schools that aren't known for taking their security as seriously will not let you connect to their network. So that right there makes this pretty obsolete for its intended use case. If they were to fix this, it would be a much better product. It would be like that is by far the biggest flaw in my opinion. I can kind of forgive Android 8 just because it's running older hardware and it's not good, but I think if we tried to put Android 11 on this thing, it would be even laggier than it is already. But that security patch level is a problem. Now,
I actually find it more of a problem, more of a serious issue, just because not simply because companies won't allow it, although I think that's saying something, because there are companies that would not. But I actually do take my own security and privacy seriously.
Yeah.
And so the fact
Yeah.
that I'm connecting to a banking app, for example, with a device that has that old of a security patch level, or I'm connecting to the web, or I'm getting on anything, like accessing the web with this thing, I have this thing connected and it's going out, I have a problem with that, because I don't want my data exposed. And so,
right.
like, even if okay, my school does allow this thing, do you actually want your child's information to be open to whatever unpatched holes or whatever, like that's what you want, or your banking info, or
right.
et cetera, et cetera.
Now, so my position on that is, I typically have this connected through a VPN, which has antivirus, and I know that doesn't solve the problem completely, but for me personally, for what I use this for, that makes it more accessible for me. But again, that's another service you have to pay for, and that doesn't totally patch up the holes. That just helps a little bit. So that's the worst thing about this device. Another bad thing is 4 gigabytes of RAM is really like that. That's very light in 2021. So that Snapdragon processor it has it's fine depending on what you're doing. As we saw, it's struggling with StreamYard or Restream. Now, I don't know how much of that might have to do with the hardware in this thing, but it almost doesn't matter. Like, if you're trying to do a lot of heavy lifting on the internet with this, it's going to freeze. Now, it's fine.
I don't even think Restream is heavy lifting. Just saying. Like, I don't think being in a meeting or because
yeah,
I wouldn't really.
Now,
I don't know.
It does handle like Zoom a lot better and Google Meet a lot better. And
well, that's good. Although with that mic, I'm not sure I'd want to be in a Zoom call.
No, not with that mic. Not
well,
with that
good.
mic. I wouldn't either. But you can connect other mics if you want to. But that's not really what I use this for. And
Sure.
so just to be clear, my position on this thing is more, if you have one, maybe see what you can do with it before you just try and sell it, because I am about to show you some things that I'm not going to say it makes up for all the bad parts, but for me, it still makes it a usable device. First good thing, well, first let me just go through
Contacts. Key list.
let me just go through the main menu here, and I won't demonstrate all these apps because we would be here for a long time.
Let me just say one thing, and that some of you on here will know that even in this, probably in this video, like, you've heard me pretty much shit all over the Braille note, like I've trashed it. I pulled it out of a toilet tank. That may be disrespectful. You might think that that's like not something I should do, and maybe that's true. I think as a trainer, it's really important to provide tools, and everything has its place. So as Kurt's going to show, there are some benefits to using a Braille Note Touch. And as long as you go in knowing what those are and using it for that purpose, I have no problem with it. What I do have a problem with is state rehab professionals, even students or whatever, people buying these things and trying to use them for a lot more than what they are. And if you think you can get through college with simply a Braille Note Touch,
No.
I think you're going to find yourself struggling. And so if you are a rehab professional or you know those people, please try to get your students on stuff that actually is used in the real world. Chromebooks, laptops, whatever.
Yeah.
I would say even iPads are better. But just to be clear, it's not that I'm shitting on it because I don't think you should use it at all. I think that it's a good tool for what it's for, and Kurt's going to demo that. I just really have a problem with people buying these things. Well, number one, I have a big problem with the price. I have a big problem with the updatability.
Yep.
And I have a big problem that you're spending that much money, not just the price for what it is, although that is a problem, but also the price for its functionality. I have a problem with that. And so these are things to consider. So if you're going to use it for just the tool that it's intended, is its price worth using that tool for what it's intended, or is the time savings or convenience or whatever worth using it for what it's intended? Or maybe are there better options? And that's kind of what I have to say on that whole bit. So
Yeah. Well, and if I could go back, I would buy something like a Mantis Q40. You know, my when I bought this, the Q40 hadn't quite come out. I think for me, overall, that might even have been a better tool. But there are some good things about this machine. One of them is that you can... So, when you get the Braille Note, it comes with... They call it a smart keyboard cover. What it really is the, Perkins keys. I don't know if you're familiar with older note takers. It's a lot like it's got the hardware Braille keyboard. You can take that off and type Braille on the touch screen. Now, as Nimmer pointed out, there is a bit of a lag. However, even with that lag, there are times I find it is the most efficient way to do things. At least the most efficient way I have at my disposal now to do things. There may be better ways. But
does that lag go away when you attach the keyboard, or is it still there?
It goes away.
Okay.
As far as I remember, it goes away.
Okay.
I haven't had the keyboard on it for a long time because the keyboard is pretty bulky. And actually, when you take the keyboard off, this thing becomes a lot more portable. It's by no means like smartphone level portable or even iPad level portable, but it's a lot more portable than I think even the old Braille notes were without the touch, without that extra keyboard attachment on. And so that makes it feel a little more tablet-like. And that does have some advantages when typing, lag notwithstanding. So what I'm going to go do here is just quickly go through the main menu.
Contacts. Key list.
So contacts, they have their own little proprietary contact app, which I find myself not using very much.
I've noticed that they're using the old app names after the new app names, like maybe to try to get users kind of accustomed to the newer app stuff. I don't know. It seems a little bit confusing, but that's cool that they're doing that, I guess.
No, I think I think they're trying to.
Seems
make
overly
people
verbose, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it is. I mean, you can change that if you want, but normally I have speech off on this thing.
Okay.
But yes, you can change that if you want, I believe. And I think what they're trying to do is try to make all the people who used to use the other note takers happy. But yeah, I
makes
agree.
sense.
All right, so then Internet Chrome, which is fine for web browsing that doesn't involve much more than like reading websites and typing things in on websites. So if you're wanting to, read Wikipedia articles or wanting to, maybe do some shopping, or you're wanting to, like, read news headlines, things like that, it works. And it has the heading navigation and form navigation and very similar navigation to what your screen readers, your JAWS, and your Chromevox and VoiceOver have.
Play Store.
There's the Play Store here. That's pretty self-explanatory. You can put Android apps on here.
Word processor. Keyword.
Word processor. Now, I do find myself using this word processor sometimes for, I want to jot a quick note down and I don't really want to get my laptop out or Chromebook out. This thing can be a little more pen and paper like for me. But I think if that's what you're wanting, some of the newer Braille displays do a better job. But this is what I have and it works pretty well for that for me.
Planner. Key plan.
There's a planner, which actually I think they built the planner pretty well. Good job, Humanware, on that. It syncs up with your Google Calendar, and it's pretty intuitive and easy to use. So if you're used to the old planner commands from the Braille Note Apex, Empower days, it's going to be pretty much the same, except it'll sync with your Google, your Google Calendar.
File manager. Key files.
There's a file manager. You can go through all the files on this thing. It's got a USB port and an SD card, so you can go through flash drives, files on an SD card.
Calculator. Key calc.
There's a calculator,
Easy Reader Plus.
Easy Reader, which actually that might be one of my favorite parts about this. It's really good at reading Braille files, really good at reading like Bookshare, Daisy Books.
Yeah, that would be a great feature.
Yeah, it handles those pretty well. But again, it's more I use it for that because I have this device already. If I didn't have this device, I wouldn't pay $6,000 for something that can read Daisy Books a little bit better than my computer can.
KNFB Reader.
There's a KNFB reader if you want. There is a camera on the back of this Braille Note if you want to.
So out of curiosity, does that app still work? Because the app in the Android Play Store is dead, and it's been dead for years. So is it still being updated? Does it still work?
I don't think it's being updated still, but I do think it still works. It's not the decent. Well, let's check. Let's open it up.
Allow KNFB Reader to access photos, media, and files on your device.
That might be because
I
that's
have-
8.1, but it certainly hasn't been. It doesn't work
Right.
with newer versions at all. So
Yeah, so when they say the KNFB reader here is optimized for the Braille Note Touch, so I think it still works, but again, if you have a phone with something like Envision AI or Google Lookout or Seeing AI like that
yeah, that's another question. How hard is it, or how easy is it in your mind to hold this tablet thing up in the air while you're just I'm assuming the camera's on the back, right? So
yeah.
how do you hold this thing up and manage to get a good scan from OCR?
I mean,
how does that work?
I think it's a lot easier when you have it without the keyboard cover on. When you have it like I have it with just the touch screen, you can do it, but a phone is definitely easier. You can do it with this and it I guess works. I've never really tried because my phone does fine for OCR and it's easier to hold.
Yeah, I'm sure it has a much better camera and stuff too.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the Braille Note has more megapixels, but the phones have better autofocus and better flash, and better image processing and all that. So yeah, you're better off doing that with a phone, I think, if you have one, which I assume most people do.
Braille terminal.
Now, here is the other nice thing about this. Braille terminal. You can use this as a Braille display over Bluetooth or over USB.
It's a very expensive Braille display.
It is a very expensive Braille display, but and it doesn't work as well as the newer Braille displays because it's, older Bluetooth. But it is, there is a Braille display built in. It works pretty well, especially if it's connected to something through USB. Yes, and I would not recommend paying $6,000 for a Braille display, but this thing does work as a great Braille display in addition, to the other stuff.
Makes sense.
Except with a Chromebook. And that's actually a very frustrating thing in my life right now because I have a 20-cell Braille display that I'm beta testing for the the National Library Service. And I have this one, which is 32 cells. As of now, this one isn't working with the Chromebook, but it works great with computers, iPhones. It's a little harder to pair with Bluetooth than the newer ones just because it has you put in a pairing code, and that's really annoying, and it only gives you a little bit of time to do that. But once it's set up, it works pretty well.
Cool.
And they've designed the Braille display part pretty well.
All applications.
Now we've got all applications. And just to show one of the good things about this Braille note is it has first letter navigation in these menus, kind of like a computer. So for example, I will press I, or I will press
Contacts. Key list.
C for contacts. I guess you have to press W for Chrome,
Word processor. Keyword.
or word processor. I press
Wait.
W, it gets to word processor.
W for Chrome?
Contacts. Key list. Calculator. Key count.
For I thought it was web.
Oh.
File manager. Key files.
Oh, that's not good.
Internet. Chrome.
Oh, there we go. I for internet. That's working.
Okay.
Bottom. All
So-
applications. Internet. Chrome.
So I press I, it takes me to Chrome.
I think that's a little bit confusing. I think they should have stuck with Chrome.
All applications.
But
I agree. 100%.
I think in the old, I'm trying to think, because in the old Braille notes, I think they called it Internet, or they might have called it KeyWeb. I don't remember.
Yeah, they called it KeyWeb.
Okay, called it KeyWeb. So it would have made sense for me if they had said Chrome KeyWeb, just like they'd followed the other.
Yeah.
The other.
No, I agree. I agree.
But anyway.
But anyways, so I pressed A, it got me to all applications, and this is the feature I'm about to show here is something that I wish I had on my phone because it would make navigating apps on my phone so much faster. So I'm going to open this all applications menu.
Soft on.
Keysoft on. Cool.
Yeah, I guess it decided to
Enable
boot.
apps.
Okay.
Second zipper.
Alright, so I have all my all apps open. Now I'm just gonna, I have a ton of apps on here. So I'm just gonna press A.
Amazon Music. Amazon Shopping. Contacts. Audible.
And that got me to Audible.
Audex, have you changed the sound scheme for your Braille note touch?
I used to have Audex on here because that was, and I didn't
Make
have
it sound
for
like
the
an
sound
iPhone?
scheme. You can, but I used it for labeling unlabeled buttons and turned off
makes
the
sense.
sound scheme.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna open up the Audible app here.
Your library is sorted by recent.
And
My library. Audible. Find your podcasts button.
so I'm in my library, and just like last week, I'm going to show the Bible. So I'll press
Oh,
T.
goodness.
Well,
Is the Braille note going to survive this?
ha!
My library. The Holy Bible. King James Version is downloaded and ready to play by King James Bible. No.
Probably.
No.
Alright, so, like, I just went to the top. I'll go to the top of the menu here again,
Top. Search button.
and I will just press T.
The Holy Bible. King James Version is downloaded and ready to play
That brought me right to the
I like
Holy
when it
Bible.
says null.
Yes. No, that is, yeah, I agree. But, in my mind, that was faster than finding this in the web app. That's faster than finding this in a big list of books on my touch screen. So I'll open up the Holy Bible.
Maybe. I don't know. I would tend to disagree because I think you could use a screen reader find.
Yeah.
And it's essentially doing a similar thing to that. So, in fact, if you're using a screen reader find, you can, if you had like 20 books with the word "the" in them, you certainly wouldn't want to go through T,
No,
T.
you wouldn't. But, this was at the top of my library.
Sure.
All right. So,
Search button.
now I will just press P to go to the play button here.
Podcast button.
Podcasts. Play. Now, I guess in the web app I could have just navigated by buttons, or, maybe there's a keyboard shortcut there to play pause.
There's definitely a keyboard shortcut. You can also do PL, do a find.
All right, so play pause.
All right, thy prayer is heard. That's good. I'm glad.
Back 30 seconds. Jump back 30 seconds.
Now I'm just
The
going
Holy Bible,
through.
King James Version, Luke 1.
It's in Luke 1 from where I was in the web app.
Seat control, 133. There's 14 hours, 45 minutes left, 7:50. Previous chapter, button. Jump back 30 seconds, button. Play.
So I'm going
Jump forward
through,
30 seconds, button.
and these are the same controls you have. You should be pretty familiar with these.
Speed 1.
So is it any faster at going from one end of the book to the other than the web app? Because it's running locally? Probably should be.
Probably should be. Let's check.
Next chapter, button. Play.
All right, guys, if there's smoke that comes out of the Braille note, this is why.
Seat control, 60, Luke 1. Luke 1, 1 minute, more options. Car mode. Minimize
Go
player
back to
button.
Genesis or something. I don't know.
Yeah, let's go back here.
My library. The Holy Bible,
And
King James Version, Luke 1. Luke 1. Notice car mode.
there should
Car
be
mode, cool.
chapters. There we go, chapters.
Audible. Luke 1, 7 minutes, 50 seconds remaining. Bottom.
And then I'll go to the top.
Top. Ezekiel 8,
Uh-oh.
Ezekiel 7, 4 minutes. Ezekiel 1, 5 minutes, 8 seconds long.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a lag here.
It's not the top.
But
Top. Proverbs 2, 2 minutes, 6 seconds. Proverbs.
It's still not the top.
Psalm 148, 1 minute, 20 seconds long.
What's up with this thing?
I mean, there's a billion and a half chapters here.
Job 6, 3 minutes, 8 seconds long.
I suppose, but it's still not the top.
2 Samuel 1, 4 minutes, 29 seconds long.
So it's just the top of what it thinks is visible, not necessarily actually the
so
top.
I keep scrolling up, essentially, is what I'm doing.
6 minutes, 20 seconds.
Okay.
Top. The Holy Bible, King James Version.
I mean,
Top.
to be
12
fair,
minutes, 21 seconds long.
Chromebooks aren't better at scrolling than this is right
Genesis, 3
now.
seconds long.
Genesis
Genesis 1, 5 minutes, 16 seconds long.
1. There we go.
In the beginning. Wait, why is there a different voice? Is that a different voice?
It is a different voice. I guess they have a
Okay.
different reader.
Okay, all right.
Genesis
So-
3, 4 minutes,
I thought I was maybe
then-
imagining things.
Bottom.
Then I'll exit out of here, and then press P, play pause. There we go. So, that ability to navigate around an app with first letter, I find very useful. Especially, most apps don't have as much to scroll through as every single chapter in the Bible, right? Most apps, there's usually just one or two screens full of things, and if you type the first letter of the thing, you maybe have to press it twice or 3 times if there's like multiple buttons that start with the same letter. But to me, that is a very useful feature. And
Yeah.
that's something that's something I use a lot. And if like actually the way I like to use devices, that's very handy. It's not $6,000 handy, but it's very useful.
It's
Another
interesting.
thing-
It's really interesting because I don't know. I guess I'm a little bit mixed because of a number of issues. Number one, I do think that finding something overall is probably going to be a bit faster, but it depends on, of course, if it's the first item and there's nothing else with the letter P.
Sure.
Certainly, but also just that the other qualm that I have with it, at least for students or someone who's just starting out learning new things. There's two things. Number one, if you haven't actually explored the layout of an app or something like that, and you get too reliant on these things, I'm not so sure that that's a good thing. That you're all of a sudden using an alternative interface for accessing, what you want to access.
Yeah, but that's not the tool's fault if you don't use it right.
It's not the tool's fault. It's quite a bit harder to go from, you're using this Braille note, you can use this first letter navigation to get to parts of an app, and then all of a sudden you jump on, I don't know, a computer or phone or something like that, and then you don't know how that app is laid out. There's that. I guess
but that's something you can, like, that's on you,
to some extent, if the Braille note is actually encouraging people to do this, then at some point, and especially if they are more recommended devices, which they seem to be in the school system and stuff, I think it's a little bit of the fault of the device too. The manufacturer's providing some ability that I don't know. I'm pretty mixed on it. I mean, I definitely see where you're coming from.
But you can explore the app on the touchscreen with this too. Like, they're not.
Yeah, you could, but you wouldn't. If you know the first letter navigation of something, or you think you know what it is. And then that's the other thing, is I would find myself wasting a lot of time thinking that I might know the first letter navigation of something. And then all of a sudden either the button label changed or I'm in a different app. And then that thing that I'm looking for, that letter isn't actually that, whatever it is. I don't know. I'm mixed on it.
What if you already know the app, though? And, in my mind, it's like...
Well, if I already know the app, I'm going to touch the part of the touchscreen to access that button. So that's even faster than doing what you're doing.
Yeah, if you know exactly where it is on the touchscreen, and you're probably better at that than I am. I can find the approximate place on the touchscreen, and then I maybe have to flick once or twice, which
maybe I don't know. It's interesting.
In my mind, it's just that. The way I use devices, I really like having that ability. I mean, I see where you're coming from with it. You could get too reliant on it.
And I understand your perspective too. And I'm not so much like you get if it's your own device, you've been using this stuff for a while, then it's it works for you, and that's a good thing. But if it comes down to, again, I think students and people in general learning these devices should try to be using the things that are mainstream, that are going to be similar to how you use. That's why I like something like an Braille. Why? Because you're using Windows, essentially.
Right.
And that's what you're going to use on a computer or a laptop or whatever. But I'd be interested to see what other people's take on it, because I see both sides of it.
And so do I.
Options are good things. But I would want to see what other people have to say about it. And so let us know in the comments, or drop those in.
Let us know in the comments. Now, one other thing that is not unique to the Braille note, but I think is pretty useful, is this touch Braille typing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up a word processor document here.
Main menu. Contacts. Key list. Word processor. Keyword.
Press W on keyword. It didn't close last time, that's fine. Now there is a hotkey that you can use to just open up Word if you want. So I'm in a document here, and I'll just type...
Hello.
I screwed up. Yeah, okay. Okay. There we go.
Oh, good. I like it too.
So, and now especially if you have speech off, and there is a bit of a learning curve with this. As you can see, I did make one typo there. But it's a lot quieter to type that way And like I haven't actually used this in a couple days, but I've found after I've spent a few minutes typing and kind of my fingers remember like how the quirks of this touch screen, I can type about the same speed I could on the, Braille keyboard. Maybe a little bit faster, about the same accuracy rate, and it's much quieter.
I like keyboard clacks. I'm kidding.
I don't like keyboard clacks when I'm in a meeting and my boss is talking. But I mean, I agree. They're nice. But that's something that I think is useful. And for people who spend, like I've seen people who get really fast with this. I am, decently fast.
So if you do type really fast, does the screen, is it able to keep up with your touches?
No, you kind of have to slow down. I don't think it slows you down that much.
Sure.
When you're I mean, well, let me put it this way. If it was better built, you could type a lot faster.
Right.
But the way it's built now, I don't think it's... Like, I still think you can go faster, or at least as fast as you can with the clacky Braille keyboard. And, like, there are situations where that's useful, and it makes the thing more portable, and that's nice. So those are the things I like about it.
One other thing is, do you find yourself needing to recalibrate where your fingers are versus where it thinks the dots are? Is that a thing?
Every 5 minutes or so. Every 5 minutes or so, but it recalibrates pretty... Like, I just put my fingers on the touch screen, it's recalibrated.
Okay.
X, R, B, C, A, L, I, H, H, B, okay, that's 1246, that's 246, now.
It recalibrated now. Okay, so it takes like a split second to recalibrate, so it's not quite as fast as like Braille screen input on a phone.
Okay.
But, so that is annoying. I hope if they make another model of this, they update this a little bit. But I really like the concept, and it, people used to complain a lot with my old Packmates and Braille Notes that it was really loud, and it kind of was. And so, look, my take on this is...
You tell me, should I go put it back in the toilet tank, or should we keep it out for now?
Yeah, I mean, I like reading books with it, and, I do find myself sometimes, depending on what I'm doing for work, even if this thing's not connected to the internet, it's nice to have, like, an extra scratch pad where I can keep notes, and,
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's kind of like how some sighted people will have 2 or 3 monitors at one time. And I think actually that's something you can do. You don't need a Braille note for this. If you have, a Chromebook and a Windows laptop, or an iPhone and a computer, or
something like an Orbit display, or yeah.
So, I don't know that the Orbit display can note take. But something like a Mantis Q40 or a Chameleon.
I think you can do it. I think the Orbit can. I don't know. I might be mixing it up. There's so many displays.
Yeah,
I think you can take
Orbit,
the occasional note on the Orbit. The Focuses certainly have a notepad. The Braille Hedges certainly have a notepad. A bunch of them have notepads of some kind.
Yeah. So, like, even if you have a Braille display, I think that's a very useful thing that a lot of, especially blind people for some reason, haven't really gotten the utility down of while you can have a bunch of windows open and Alt-Tab between them, and I do that, it can help efficiency to have, the Braille display where you can do some work and at the same time have the computer open to something else.
Yeah.
That's some intangible thing. I can't really articulate why it helps. I just know it helps me sometimes. So, look, I wish I had waited a few months and got something like a Mantis Q40. I am frustrated by the limitations of this thing. And another thing is humanware, I think, has a tendency to overpromise and underdeliver. Like, I know that's kind of what a lot of companies do, but humanware, like, I talked to a humanware rep who told me they would have an update in August and promised a lot of really cool new features that would actually make this thing, you know, better in Google Docs, better with, like, cloud storage. And, you know, maybe that update will come out in the next few months, but they told me August. And so, like...
Yeah, my experience with the Braille Note Touch and Google Docs with students using it is don't do it.
Yeah, it's not...
Especially if you're collaborating with others, don't do it.
Yeah, I agree. It's not ideal. And I do think... I mean, yes, it is the nature of a company to market things and, you know, try to play it up when they sell. I think Humanware oversold the Google Docs integration on this thing. And
of course.
You know, way more than most companies oversell things. So, like, I don't know. I still have this. I still use it. I have found kind of a niche that it works for me in. But would I recommend you go out and buy one of these new? No, I don't think so. Not unless you... I mean, I can think of a couple use cases. Maybe, like, let's say you do a lot of Braille advanced math, like calculus and stuff. It's got a pretty good system for doing that. But even then, there are, like, alternatives you can use with a Windows screen reader that probably work as well.
All right, guys, you heard it. Kirk does not recommend the Braille Note. Here we go. We're going to go put it right back in the toilet tank. Oh, let me get up. Oh, man, I've been sitting still too long. By the way, he did give some cases where he does recommend it, but for most part, he doesn't recommend it. So
yeah.
For the most part, I'm going to put it back in the toilet tank. And if you need to pull it out as a tool, you can always pull it out and use it as a tool and then put it back in. Here we go, Kurt. We're going to put it in. You're going to make a splash. All right, in 3, here we go, 2, 1, splash. Bye-bye, Braille Note.
I was expecting you to drop it in there. But
all right, there we go. So, as I always say, put that Braille Note right back in that toilet tank. At least keep in mind what its use cases are for, and
Exactly.
that it's a tool like anything else. Don't rely on it, over-rely on it for everything that you do.
Yeah.
One last scenario that I have a problem with all blindy note takers is if you did spill water on it, how long do you think it would take for you to get a new one? Or to get that one replaced or fixed? Or
yeah.
And this isn't a Braille Note necessarily, a Braille Note specific issue, but how long do you think that would take?
I mean, yeah.
And if you're working at a company, you know, let's say you're working and you're reliant on this thing for your job, or you're going to school, do you think your university is going to put your schoolwork on the hold until, for, you know, a month from now, 2 months from now, however long it takes, you get a new one?
Yeah, not likely.
You know, whereas what happens if your laptop breaks?
Right.
You know, take it to a local shop, take it to Geek Squad, have it fixed in a day or two, go buy a new one if needed. A lot cheaper than the $6,000.
You could say the same thing about a $2,000 Braille display, though.
I can, and I do. You know, but at least on a Braille display, you're like, for the most part, I wouldn't say that students are as reliant on a Braille display as I see a lot of people trying to be with a Braille Note. Like, yes, you use Braille as your reading medium, and that's important, but you probably, if you're using a Braille display and a screen reader, at least have some idea of how to type. You have some idea of how to, you know, it might not be your preferred medium, it might suck for a while, but you know how to use a screen reader, you know how to accomplish tasks. Whereas, you know, again, if you're in this other world of, I'm relying on this Braille Note, and I can hit first letter navigation and all these things. Okay, that's cool. But you're going to be stuck.
So, what I actually wish, and maybe I'll close on this, is all the things I really like about the Braille Note, all the reasons I still keep mine around, Humanware could make software for phones that does the same thing.
Absolutely. I've said that
and
for a while.
And charge a few $100 for it, you know? Like, and if I could
They've already put their
Keysoft
platform on Android. You know, Keysoft
Yeah.
already exists on Android, so they can very easily release it, I think. So,
like, if I could have that first letter navigation on my phone, I would pay a few $100 for that. Like, easy, you know? And so, if anyone from Humanware is listening, like, I'm someone who really wants to like this Braille Note. I still keep it around for the things I keep it around for, but I would love it if you just made it a software skin for an Android phone. And,
yeah.
you know.
And in that way, you're not releasing antiquated hardware, like
Yeah.
antiquated on day one. People can run it on whatever new Samsung tablet or whatever new tablet they go out and buy. You know, you can recommend one that they buy or something, but
Yeah.
and you're not having to deliver the updates. I see a lot of net positives. The only thing is, of course, money. You know, it's probably a little bit more profitable
Right.
for them to. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming on and joining us. And if you have any ideas for us to cover, we're always, hunting around for these things. Let us know. If you like this video, hit the like. If you shared, that's cool. There was no video, actually. Well, at least there was no video on my end. Maybe Kurt had a video, but
No,
this is more for
I
the
turned my
audio.
camera off.
Yeah, see, this is more. Maybe the Braille Note had video of his of his
Of my
table or
desk.
something. But anyway, if you're, if you'd like to be part of making this thing more video appealing, then let us know. Otherwise, if you have any suggestions, comments, any comments on the first letter navigation on the Braille Note, or anything else that you'd like to say, or call me a bully or mean for putting the thing in the Braille in the toilet tank, whatever. Any comments are welcome. Any comments on the speech rate, I would say probably are not welcome at this point. We've gotten enough of those. But if you really feel strongly about it, go ahead and put those in.
Yeah, let us know.
And Kurt, thank you very much for joining us here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so again, a blast doing this with you, and we'll have to get some other people on here soon. Say hello to them,
yeah.
and we'll see you all next
reach out
week.
to some people. Yeah, absolutely.